Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Burgeoning the Podcast. I'm your host, Leah J. Today, I am met with another friend, Reagan Williams, a woman of charm and splendor, just a light to the world, truly. She's the host of the Tiny Awakenings podcast. She does a lot. She does a lot, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But today's topic is pretty heavy. We're talking about choosing life. So if you're struggling with that decision, I hope these words inspire you to continue to live and to continue to choose life. If you're not in a place to receive this message, but you need help, reach out to someone. I've included some resources in the description below, as well as on the screen if you're watching. But we did try to make it light, and it's kind of funny in some spots. But even though we're being lighthearted, our message is clear. God is with you, and you're here for a purpose. So do all that you can to get better and to choose life. I send you love and light before the show and after and forever on. May God bless you, and may these words bless you. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to Burgeoning the Podcast. I am your host, Leah J. I am here with my good friend, Miss Reagan Williams. I'm so excited that Reagan's on today. She does not do visual podcasts. She is not trying to be here. I could feel in her spirit when I told her my podcast is going to be visual. She was like, ugh. Even though she rolled her eyes. Now she rolled her eyes. But I am so excited for her to be here. Reagan is my spirit sister. Like we met at orientation, but we did not know each other from there. We started college at the exact same time. We're spring entry people, so it's like non-traditional almost.
Weird.
But yeah, very weird, very, very weird. But we found love between the two of us in Africa, all the way thousands of miles away from home on a whole different continent.
No, for real.
Literally. And from there, everything has just kind of fell into place with us as far as our relationship. But every time we have a conversation, we're like, oh, we should record this. It's so good. It's so good. So I'm so excited to have her here to speak with us about her burgeoning journey. Reagan is she's such a light. She's such a light. She sends black hearts, but she's such a light unto the world. Literally spreading joy and happiness and doing her thing with social justice and the plight of women and queer folk. And I just the activism just doesn't stop with Reagan, but also she is spreading love and joy and understanding through her podcast, Tiny Awakenings, giving people a platform to just speak and be free. And she gave me that opportunity. So here I am to give her opportunity to tell her story. So, Reagan, you have the
Girl.
mic.
Oh my God. No, I'm so happy to be on. And it's funny because I feel like I try to give this rough exterior, like look hard so I can be soft, you know? That's how I
Yeah.
think of it.
It's definitely a try. I don't think you're.
Oh,
I don't think.
whatever. Whatever.
I feel like if you know you, it's hard to.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to see that rough part of you. You know,
No,
like
that's facts.
you're you're so
That's
love,
facts.
like love. That's it.
I
That's
like
it. Love and light.
yes, right. I personify love and rainbows and fluffiness. And it's like I feel like a lot of times people can take advantage of that, you know? So I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to like love my own love cuz I love hard. And I'm like just yeah. It's hard out
Yeah.
here, but I think having, like doing my all black, like having on, it feels like armor a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not in a bad way. It's literally just me expressing the multitude of everything that I am. Because it doesn't always come out of my mouth. Because I'm very intentional about what I say. So yeah, I get to be a little rough with my exterior. And if you don't know me, I think it's like breaking that barrier. A lot of people are like, "Oh my god," like, and then as soon as they say hey to me, I'm like, "Hey, like, how are you?" And it's like, "Oh, okay." But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't keep up the persona at all. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not happening. I'm sorry.
It's not happening, but I feel like getting to that point that we break it down and that we are able to receive your love, your light, your softness, the rainbows and teddy bears and all that stuff, it's
Hmm.
so worth it. Like it's so worth it. You opening up and giving us a chance, and I am
Aw,
forever grateful for it.
yeah. It wasn't easy. And I think, like we were just talking the other day about like that big growth moment. And I feel like I've had so many pockets of those. And I'm
Mm,
excited to get really down into one of them. But a huge one for me when we met, like around the time that we met, was like, if you don't give people something to understand, you can't feel misunderstood. So I was like so
mm,
guarded with everybody. Like it wasn't
mm-hmm.
even, it was a facade. Like the way that I would carry myself, the things that maybe would come out of my mouth or not come out of my, I was very quiet. Yeah. If I wasn't talking on something that I felt like we need to go vote for this or like come out for this rally or like, I wasn't just on my activist grind, you probably didn't hear much from me. And that was really like on purpose. And it
Mm-hmm.
took me a long time. And it's been like a long, long journey of me just, like I said, like just loving my love. But now I get to be picky because at that time it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for me to be vulnerable because I didn't have any type of discernment about the people that I was around, um, or the things that I was doing. But over time, like really started to trust myself and start to trust my surroundings enough for me to like just be me and do it. Like, yeah, I'm super touchy feely. I'm super soft and like it's just not something I'm gonna change. And it still bothers me from time to time. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
Yeah.
but I get to move like accordingly. Like you can't there's no you're going to play with me and you're going to talk to me tomorrow. Like it's like I can forgive you from a distance. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly. Yes.
I can still carry myself in love and light. You're not going to take me to a point where
Yes.
I'm not being me ever, 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 ever. But I do have the discernment to walk away. So I
Yes.
trust my love.
Yes. I love that concept of I can love you and release you.
Mhm.
That I have that power because it is strength in knowing your love. Like that is ultimate here, top tier. Like I know my love, so I respect myself. I have my boundaries, I set them, and I hold on to them. And when they change,
Exactly.
they're only changing because I allow that. I'm not going to allow anybody to abuse and misuse my love. And
Mhm.
being able to love and release somebody or some things, that is the strongest thing because
Right.
oftentimes holding on to things that no longer serve us or when we're no longer serving a thing or a person, whatever, it causes us weakness. That's a weak
Mhm.
spot for us because it's like, why aren't you strong enough to let it go?
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I mean, it gets you so far in misalignment with where God is trying to take
Hmm.
you, and that's sort of like you feel so uncomfortable when you're riding that ride where you're like keeping things and people around that aren't supposed to be there and they're making you uncomfortable for a reason. And I was that type of person that would just sit in that for months, years, sit in a relationship where I was like, something about this doesn't feel right. It was hardest for me when I was just constantly seeing myself do that. Like, I didn't understand the repercussions. I didn't understand that, like, God was trying to get me back in line. It was just me sitting in relationships that I felt like, oh, I owe this person, or like they love me, or,
Time.
friendships or anywhere. Yeah. Or like, yeah, we've been friends for the longest, or like I've known you and just loyal. It's loyal, blind loyalty at that. Um, and just wanting to constantly mend relationships because I felt like there were a lot of times that people didn't forgive me or hear me out. So I was just somebody that was just like, I need to hear people out. I need to like, shuck and drive because I felt like there were a lot of missing spaces in my life where they didn't need to be. Just like I think sometimes people get in conflict and they want to be a victim so bad that they forget to resolve. Like it's just like you get stuck in a place where, you know, um it's hard to get out, and sometimes it's worth fighting for things, but when constantly, like it's just this person's energy, it might be their intentions, it might be the intentions of the things that you're doing, might be in misalignment with like your goals, all of that stuff. Like I just had to get really clear on that, and I wasn't clear. So I can't imagine being this soft and vulnerable at that time because
Hmm.
it just was not. I was just not in a safe place, and I wasn't in a place where I trusted that my like gut feelings were trying to bring me to a good place.
Yeah.
And now I do.
Yeah. Well, thank God that you do. Thank God for the now. And thank God for the then, because that's what this is all about. Like, we are
Yep.
here to reflect on the growth through it and seeing and being able to say, like, now I do, now I am not in this
Mhm.
space. And this space has been, like, I've been delivered from that. Like, that is such
Yeah.
a blessing because so many people will stay there and be stuck and
Right.
don't learn this lesson or have to relearn the same lesson over and over again. And it's painful. It's so painful. It's painful the first time, but then to live it constantly, like that's hell,
Yeah.
you know?
It is. What did they say? Like repeating like a no, what did they say? It's like repeating the same behavior and expecting a different outcome is like the definition of its insanity.
That's literally
It's
it.
almost that.
That's literally what they say, but that's literally the definition of
Right.
insanity is to constantly do the same thing over and over again and expect something to be different. Like,
Different results. Like, no, you gotta change the
babes,
way you think. You gotta change your behaviors. There's just so many different things.
right.
Yeah.
I like to think about something light when I think about the definition of insanity because sometimes it can be very heavy.
Hmm.
And for instance, like trying to draw a straight line but not use the ruler that's right in front of you. And you're just freehanding and freehanding and freehanding and freehanding, but you also have a shake in your hand. Babes,
Wow.
babes,
Yeah.
you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just pick up the ruler. Like the ruler is right there. And that's how life is.
Yeah.
Life, the ruler, it
Hmm.
be right there. But
Ooh, I love that.
we don't want to get rid of that shake. We don't, I mean, we want to do it. We want to do it with the shake. We want to do it with the hardship. And I have been delivered from doing things just for the sake of the
Yeah.
hardship. Like we are all everybody is deserving of having softness in their life. Like things growth
Hmm.
life can be challenging, it can be, but God gives us ways to simplify it.
No, for real. It's funny because I was just talking to someone. I feel like, we all do get addicted to things. Like, and it might just become, I wouldn't even say addicted, bad habits, right? Like, we don't always want to own up to or look into our bad habits. But it's like the addiction to a behavior that's not serving you, or the archetype of like the person that you want to be, or the people that you want to surround yourself with aren't really serving you, but you keep looking for it over and over and over again. Even when you say that you're not, like, Yeah, I feel like I've encountered that a lot with with people. Um, it's like you say that you want something smooth and steady, and you find the ruler, and now it feel different, and you uncomfortable, and you can't. Oh, I missed the shake. Like
Right,
I missed the
right,
shake.
right. Or you used to using the wooden ruler, but now you got this like
Mhm.
this rubber ruler, and you're like, I want the splinter back in my hand.
Yeah.
Because you might have upgraded from the shape, but now the wooden ruler gives you splinters. Because sometimes we do grow. Like sometimes we do learn, okay, I might need to pick up this ruler. But the ruler
Mhm.
also can hurt a little bit. So I don't want to upgrade. I can use a ruler, but I refuse to upgrade the ruler because I used to
Yes.
have the
Oh my.
shape. But it's levels to growth. Like it's levels,
It
babes.
is. It is.
It's levels. Like it's
It is.
okay. It's okay to be delivered from a thing, and then
Yeah.
you're delivered from a thing, you're here, and it's good, right? That was literally, I'm
Mhm.
speaking to like my past relationship life right now, and it was like, all right,
Mhm.
I was addicted to them emotionally unavailable people. Like I love it. I can change them, right?
Yep.
I can change them. And then I found
Yep.
somebody who was emotionally and spiritually available for me, but
Mhm.
they weren't. They eventually became the wooden ruler, giving me splinters. I
Yep.
didn't want to find a rubber ruler though. Like I did not. I did
And
not
right,
until
because
God showed me what that should have been. Like
yeah.
I need
Yeah.
real bad a rubber ruler.
Real bad. Because God, like, yeah, you just get so pressure, and sometimes you don't even know why. Like you start to get so uncomfortable and so like just off the deep end about stuff because what you had to compare to it before was worse. So you think like it's better, right? Like the wooden ruler is better. I'm doing better, but God has more. And like I had to change my mindset of like what I wanted my life to be. I don't
Mm,
want anything less than my own liberation and my existence to be in a state of me thriving and
mm,
in peace, you know?
mhm,
And because I want that for myself, I so desperately want those conditions for other people, which is why I started the
mhm,
podcast, which is why I started Mental Health and Melanin, which is why I did, all the activism work that I was doing and that I'm doing now. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, just my 9 to 5 is like helping reallocate money from, billionaires and their foundations and millionaires and their foundations to the hands of Black and Brown people, um, and their small businesses and their nonprofits. Like, because I know what I need for myself, and I know that I can't do it alone. Because so many of the things that I was facing, and we can really, really get into this, but so many of the hardships that I was facing, I wasn't just an anomaly, you know? I'm like, this is happening to so many Black and brown people not having access to mental health care, or, even, your family not really offering that as a resource, or not knowing anybody who's utilized a ruler. Goddamn, a ruler. Nobody's ever picked up the ruler. And you like, there's a better way to do this, and everybody
mhm,
else around you is kind of like, not there yet. But that's by design, and I like to tell people that when it comes to like, you know, some of the work we do is around economic mobility. The fact that there are trends on who has access to education and has access to wealth, and my probability of accessing that wealth versus somebody else, like, all by design. So I had to stop
mm,
getting in like had to stop sitting in that like I'm a victim of my own. I'm like, this is happening just to me. It's like, no, this is happening to entire communities and all over the world for a million different reasons,
mhm.
under the thumb of a million different oppressive systems that have similar characteristics. But yeah, I was just like, this is bigger than me just having my own issues.
Mhm.
And it's bigger than me just envisioning what I want for myself. I just get so like so excited and like so fulfilled when I can create those moments for other people.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
But it's giving people, and I mean that's what you're gonna do with your podcast too. You're gonna give people new ways of thinking and being, and they're gonna start picking up rulers. They
Yes.
might not pick up the right one the first time. But we're just gonna keep growing. So
First off, thank you for that. Um, because even in giving yourself flowers, you still threw one back at me. So I am forever, grateful for you. I love you so much.
always. Always.
Okay, so let's talk about that moment of burgeoning for you, the one that you've reflected on that has led you to this point, led you to this place where you can identify all of these issues being bigger than just you. And when did you stop feeling like just an anonymous babes?
Anomaly. Anomaly. Synonymy.
Anonymously. Oh, girl, I cannot say that word. Anonymously.
It's okay. It's okay,
Anonymously.
girl.
Yeah, girl, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna have to edit that. I'm gonna have to edit that real
No,
bad.
you're not. That was great. That was actually great. No, that was wonderful. So when did I stop feeling like an anomaly? Well, okay. I was facing so many just like uphill battles as a kid. Eventually,
Mhm,
like, and I'll throw some examples. Like, I remember going to the hospital and they took us down like to a basement area where there was like nobody. It was very sterile, like very creepy. So we were bracing ourselves for the news that my father had passed away, but he didn't. They thought he was going to pass away during surgery. This happened to me when I was like maybe 8. Um, but yeah, they saved his life during surgery. It was wonderful, great. Move on a couple of years. Now there's other stuff happening in the background or whatever. My mom gets in a wreck, and on the news they pronounce her dead. We get to the hospital, she's bleeding like on her face. She ends up being paralyzed from the waist down for a year. Um, that was horrible. The like whole experience, her being in the hospital for more than a month, maybe 2 months, I don't know. My brother got cancer. All this happened before I was 11 years old. And I really didn't understand. Like, I finally asked one of my friends, like, are you going through all this stuff? Like, are you constant? Like, I'm like, is this, is there a hex on me? Or is everybody just out here struggling? Yeah, I'm like, is everybody just out here struggling for their life? Like, and I was always a really deep kid. Like, I would have my first existential
mhm,
crisis at like 5 or 6 years old. Like, was deeply afraid of my afterlife by that time. And then I had to get faced with death, like all through elementary school, and or
mhm,
people just being on the brink of it, right?
mhm,
And so at that time, I did feel like this is some weird. And by the time I finally asked somebody about it, because I wasn't talking to anybody about the stuff I was going through, really. I wasn't
mhm.
talking to my family about my feelings about anything because I felt like we're all in a sinking ship together. You know, what are my tears? Like what are my feelings have to be your feelings at this point. Like this is
Right. Yeah.
crazy. But we just never sat down and talked about how we were affected by everything that was going on. And there were other things that were bothering me. But yeah. So at that time, I did feel like an anomaly. I did feel like, why am I here? What's going on? I felt like my parents couldn't afford me. So as a kid, I felt really guilty, for even existing. I'm like, they could be out here living their best life if they didn't have to put food on the table, or they wouldn't have to work this hard, or like all these different things. And it wasn't until I think in it just got really dark for me because I was processing all those emotions on my own. And I don't think it was from about 11 to 17. I would just really just did not want to be here at all anymore.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
every day I would just talk to God, like, why am I here? Like, just stop. Like tomorrow morning, just let me just not wake up. Like, let me just fall away in my sleep. I was like extremely afraid of existing beyond life, and that's something that I also knew at a very, very young age. Um, I remember just like breaking down and crying to my mom at like 6 years old, like, I don't want to go to heaven. She's like, do not ever say that again in your life. Like, don't you ever say that. Right. Like, and my mom's like, she's like a Christian woman. She's like, oh, this little girl needs to get her shit together. Like,
Babes,
ma'am.
because that's the place that
But
I
I
want to
was,
go.
period.
Listen.
Like,
No, heaven, yes,
exactly. She was rebuking that, had holy water, everything. We
yes,
was going.
yes for the praying mother, yes for the praying mother.
Yes. She was a praying mother for real. Um Knees, honey. She was amazing, but she was like, we not doing that. But it was really, I was just so afraid of like forever, existing forever. And by
Mm-hmm.
the time I'm 11 years old, I'm tired. Like, I was a tired as 11-year-old. Like, I'm for real. Like, I'm like, please, please, like, make it stop. Like, I didn't even have to do the little 40, 50 hours a week giving it to capitalism. I was already tired. Okay, my soul was
Oh,
tired.
baby, oh, baby, oh, baby.
My soul was tired. So I was already tired. I was talking to the Lord. I was just like, hey, like, I was like, I don't know what y'all got going on up there. But like, if you could just shut it off, like if this is like a Sims character game, just shut the whole game off. Like, just shut it down. I was like, I don't need to see no flowers, no nothing, no little
Not
sky,
you, Elijah.
new. I don't need to see the stairway to heaven. Just shut it down, shut it down. So I'm thinking that all the time. And it's funny. I have such a dark sense of humor, so I have to laugh about everything. I really, really do. It's
No,
sad,
because
but I
this is
really have to laugh
not.
at everything.
I was gonna say earlier, like I have on mascara today, so don't make me cry. But like you are making me cry in laughter, and it is so inappropriate because
It is so. But listen, that's how I get through hard
no,
times too.
no,
You know?
seriously, seriously, same.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, and it's because it's in the past too, right?
Hmm.
And it's easier. It's been hard for me to talk about my story just in general. Um, but I think the more time and distance I have from certain hardships, the easier it becomes to just kind of like
Yeah.
just laugh at, like, I was a funny kid too, because I was just trying to create some joy. And that's like a sign that I really love somebody, when I like try to make them laugh. So
Hmm.
know me,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a hard time. It was a hard upbringing. And I think being, one of like two black people, like in my friend group, like my best friend was the only black friend that I had for a long time, and she was raised by white parents. Um so I just didn't have a lot of like representation around me.
Hmm.
So on top of that, on top of all the dark, sad, like, things that were going on, I just didn't have a lot of people around me who looked like me, um, who were going through, certain things I was going through at school, or I had a neighbor, call me the N word, adults actually, um, was walking around, got shot at, because I got on this farmer's land. I'm a kid. I'm just walking around, know where I'm at.
I was about to say,
But yeah,
Reagan,
just
you never told
weird.
me you lived in the hood. 'Cause
I did not live in the hood. The gunshots that I heard were people shooting deer. I did not live. I did not live in the hood. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is not a drive by. No, ma'am. Um, my granddaddy and my daddy was ducking bullets, so I didn't have to.
oh,
You understand?
period,
You
period.
understand?
Generational curses
Period.
loosening up. Period.
Period. Period.
Break it. No, I feel
But
that
yeah,
though.
I was already going through so many things that other people couldn't relate to. So by the time, like, I was just, I was older, more aware of the world. I think I was like around 17 years old. And I hate how long this story is, but yeah, I was just in the worst place I could possibly be with the most freedom I had ever had in my life. Not a good combo. And eventually, I was just around a bunch of miserable people. Like, misery truly does love company. Like, I was a ball of misery, and everybody around me was just doing crazy stuff, like, all the time. And it wasn't, it was all the people I was hanging with outside of school. At school, I'm an honor student. I'm taking AP classes. I'm doing the thing because I didn't have to study that much. I was just a smart kid, and those are the people that I were around. I was like other black people who may be like the one or you know two other black people in my class, but outside of school, just running around. And I realized how miserable people were, even if they were playing the facade. Because of how sad I was, I saw the sadness in other people really easy. I think around that time, I really did become like an empath, and it started to feel less alone. Um, and I think that's when I started to break out of that, like, this is a solo sob story. This is like life, and life happens to a lot of people. Um, and I was still going through like my own issues and everything. But I think eventually at that time I was just trying to start like drawing connections between my experience and other people's experience. That was a lot.
That was a lot. That was a lot, but it's your story, and I am so grateful that you told it. I thank you for it. I think it's very real. I think it's a very real thing that people grow up not wanting to live because of all that we
Mhm.
see and the mismanagement of our emotions. Like, we don't know how. So, you know, if we don't know how, and sadness and anger or whatever takes over, then this is who we are for a moment. It's not who we
Right.
will ultimately become, obviously, because we two people sit here. I was also a child who did not want to live. I told my mom, like, I had very vivid, drawn out plans of how I could
Mhm.
not live.
Oh, same. Yeah.
They didn't go away because I got older. No, I had to learn to deal with my emotions. I had to see the world and to appreciate it. But
Mhm.
I even told my friends, like, it was it was very recent in years that I realized, okay, maybe I am gonna live past my 20s. And maybe I want
Mhm.
to. Like, I can definitely just empathize with you on that whole experience of not wanting to exist. Not the whole I don't want to go to heaven
Yeah.
thing, because baby, I wanted to go to heaven real bad.
I can have
I
that.
want to go to
I can
heaven
take
real
that
bad.
alone. That's fine. I'll take that by myself. But people don't understand, like, when when you sit in depression long enough, or like you have those type
Mhm,
of feelings for
mhm,
long enough, you start to strategize like whether you're gonna do it or not. Like, you think about it all the time. And
mhm,
like, just on the note of suicide, like, the ideation of it, because it's something that you're like longing for, right? And your only
mhm,
pathway to not be here is death, right? And you
mhm,
start to think
mhm,
about all of the ways that, like, how can this end? And it becomes this very dark place, but it almost becomes habitual, you know?
mhm,
Especially, I was in that place for like 8 years, every day, like every day. And
mhm.
I've thought of a lot of things. I had a lot of time to sit with myself. I had a lot of time to hate on myself. The things that I was saying and
Yeah.
repeating to myself were very, very mean. And it did take a long time, like you
Hmm.
said, to just, it doesn't end. It's not overnight that, oh, I'm going to wake up happy, or like the chemicals in my brain are moving different and I don't think the same thoughts. No. Like, going from self hate to self love is a very hard thing to do. And it takes time.
It takes
It takes
time.
more than just
It
making a few
takes time.
behavioral shifts or different, like, circumstances, or going off to school or anything like that. You might think that you're happy, or that you might just be distracted, you know?
can we talk about that distraction versus actual healing? Because
Yeah.
that can be dangerous. It's so dangerous to
Mhm.
distract yourself from actually healing. Just because we don't look at our wounds don't mean that our wounds aren't still open. We need to
Right.
wrap them, we need to dress them, we need to take care of them for them to close, right?
Did you feel distracted for a while?
Babes, yes.
What were you distracting yourself with?
I distracted myself with college, and it came back. Um, I when I was in high school, I joined the military. The thoughts they quieted a lot during that time because I was like,
Mhm.
hey, I can go and I can be a soldier. I can do this. You know, and then it
Mhm.
was going to college, and it's like your first gen. You have to succeed. You have to at least finish this. Like you weren't successful in the military, so you need to do this, and you need to focus on that. And then junior year of college, it all
Mhm.
came back. And it came back so bad. It came back so heavy. I remember going to a friend's room and I was just crying. And I opened up to her about it. And I told her like what was going on. And literally, thank God for Cougar Services, where you can
Mhm.
anonymously call. She called for
Oh,
me.
good.
And that call changed my life for it helped me for then. But then it
Yeah.
came back all over again. It had been so suppressed for so long that I actually had an attempt that I was acting
Mhm.
out. And I haven't even spoken about this for a long time. I didn't even want to say this was what it was, but like literally I tried and God saved me. God took the wheel and gave me a chance at life and I'm so grateful for it. Um Healing has a lot of healing, a lot of work to really love myself and to say that I that is not where I want to be. I don't want to be in the grave. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to be in the grave before it's my time to be in the grave. I really
Mhm.
want to live. I really want to continue to spread light and love throughout the world. I really do.
You can do it.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I kind of took over
I
for you.
love
This is
that.
your story. This is
No,
you.
no, no, no. No, cuz but that's I don't know, like living similar experiences and coming to similar places really is profound, and it makes me reflect on when that moment happened for me,
Hmm.
you know, like going from attempt to I'm here and just having to because I wasn't like like I was sad, I cried, I woke up like from passing out and I just was like, are you kidding me? And that was not the first time.
Oh.
I was like, God, like you really want me here, like for real.
Hmm.
Like I've been begging you for years. I've tried to, assist you because I've been asking you to do it. You didn't do it. I'm trying to take it in my own hands. I'm just so goofy. But yeah, it was just like you really, really want me to be here. And I had to accept that, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
I had to have like a come to Jesus moment of like, I must really have something to do
Yeah.
here that I haven't done yet. And that really started to give me purpose, and there was no need, like there was no selfish need for me to live for myself, because I was like, God doesn't want me here just for me, you know? So I heard that in
Yes.
you too, like that,
Yes.
like have love to share. I have a
Yes.
light to share. And that was part of like me hating myself was also hating my love.
Hmm.
And hating that light and
Hmm.
hating how bright it was shining, not even giving recognition to how bright it was shining. Like I mean, now that I think back to it, now that I can admire my past self, now that I'm like healing that inner child that I hated so much, she
Hmm.
was dope
Hmm.
as
No,
hell.
for real. Yeah.
Like she was a budding, like blossoming person that was just, if I really had seen myself for who I was, aside from the fog of all the sadness and depression, like I just think about all the opportunities that I could have utilized,
Mhm. Mhm.
all the things that I would have done for her, and I'm doing them for myself now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I have to, like, I just have to. So, yeah, and like a part of that is really like my empathy for other people. Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna serve me well. And I knew that. I was like, God has something for me and I don't know it yet. I'm supposed to be here to save somebody else and I haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I had in my mind, like, so I was like, there's no way after all these prayers, after an attempt that I'm still here against my own will. God has a bigger plan for me, like a much bigger.
Right. We are so much bigger. We are so much bigger in God's eyes than we see for ourselves. But I
Mhm.
think that the moment of really accepting self love, and I've talked about this, but it's when you start to see yourself as God sees you, just a little bit, and start to understand love just a little bit in the way that God loves, because God is love.
Yeah.
Like that, that's the moment that everything switches over. And I feel like
Mhm.
in that car, I was shown love. I was given
Mhm.
that love. And I hope that you feel the same way when you woke up. You're like, dang, you must really love me. No,
Right.
for real.
I must
Like,
be so special.
I must be special, but I tell, and I said this on your podcast, like, I am God's favorite. Like, I am chosen.
Oh.
We have to really believe that in our hearts. Like, we are chosen to be
Blessed
here,
and highly favored.
blessed and
Yes.
highly favored. Every day that we wake up, we were chosen to wake up to do something good,
Mhm.
not for ourselves, but for the will of God. And that's a perfect this is a perfect segue into the next question, is like, how did those moments of darkness that became the light that you saw glorify God for you?
Sheesh. In so many different ways. I feel like, you said this earlier, like being grateful for where you are now and recognizing the growth is also like recognizing the darkness and the path that it took, right? So I think
Mhm.
because I was down so bad, like God needed me to see that. God needed me to see how low it can get so I can be grateful for where the heck I'm at. Cause I overthink about everything. And
Yeah.
I still have to this day take moments to say like, girl, like you manifested all these beautiful things in your life. Like be grateful. Or
Hmm.
like I feel sad and I'm like, sadness. Like depression, the deepest, darkest, levels of
Hmm.
emotions that disgust, like I don't even know if it was self-hate, like I was disgusted by my own breath, and the fact that I don't experience that and the fact that I can see that in other people is a gift that God gave me.
Hmm.
I have no like bad harsh feelings towards that experience anymore because it really created a great person. And I really think that God took the time to mold me into who I am right now. And that means all the pain points, right? Like people think they, want to pray for strength and you don't have to, flex a muscle and work a muscle. And it doesn't have to be hard. It's got to be hard for a minute for you to get strong. Like you can't pray for resilience and not go through a challenge. Like you can't feel the depths of sorrow and to sit there and ask for empathy and not be able to connect to other people's experiences. So I think I needed to go through a lot of the things that I went through to serve the way God wanted me to serve in my life. Like I get to see people like beyond their actions, beyond their mistakes. Get to see people. So
Yes.
that was
Yes.
God. That was God too. That was
That
God
was
too.
beautiful. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful, because there is purpose in your pain. There is purpose in your
Mhm.
story, in every single part of it, the happiness and the sadness, down, 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 and the journey up. There is purpose in all of it.
Right.
In all of it. Wow, that
Yeah.
was amazing.
Thank
Literal mic drop right
you.
there.
But you gotta take the lesson though, right? A lot of people go
Right.
through stuff and don't take the lesson with them. You gotta take the lesson with you.
Right. You gotta
Like
learn that it's okay to let that ruler go. Let the shake go, let the ruler go. Keep
right.
going, keep going. We gotta keep elevating, right?
Right.
Right. So how have you taken the lesson? Like what have you learned and what are you still learning from this moment of burgeoning that you lived through, you flourished from? What are you still learning?
Mhm.
What are you learning from it?
I learned a deep sense of humility, which
Mhm.
makes me continue to always strive to be better. Like I don't think I'll ever exceed God's love. Like I'm never going to, whether you're Buddhist and like, you believe in enlightenment, right? There is huge mile, a huge mountain, I should say, ahead of me to become my highest self, right? There's
Mhm.
so many different, and growth isn't linear. Like I never boost myself to the point where I feel like I'm there. And I think sometimes that's some people, they get complacent with their life. And I realize in my complacency is where my downfalls come, you know, is where I start to let myself go. And it still happens, right? Like I try not to intellectualize everything that I'm going through, but because I've had the opportunity to sit back and think about everything that I've gone through, I get to grow from it. Like
Mhm.
I always think no matter what the conflict is, no matter what the story is, it's like, what darkness did I bring to that? Like what bad energy did I bring to that? What is this trying to teach me? I always ask myself, what is this trying to teach me? Because if I didn't ask myself that to begin with, I would still be the same miserable person. I would still be the misery that needed company, was just sitting around in my yuck all the damn time.
Yes.
So if I didn't learn anything else, I learned that. Um, I learned that there's always a way out. Um, I learned to have patience with other people, um, because I was that misery. It had nothing to do with anybody else. How sad I was and how non communicative I was. I just didn't know how to use my words
Mhm.
at that time to articulate how I was feeling. So a lot of times people do shady stuff to me and I don't really take it personal,
Yeah.
because I show up. Like I show up
Yeah.
fully in who I am. And I'm like, okay, I can trust that I did everything that I could to maneuver in love and with intention. So I don't like, it's more of like I find myself praying for people when bad things happen instead of like I almost feel like I come up out of myself. Like I feel like an imposter sometimes when I yell at people. Like it's funny. Like it's not natural to me. Like, yes, I will let you take your accountability for messing up. I'm not gonna blame it on X, Y, and Z. You were an adult, like control yourself. But like I just don't take things personally anymore. For what? Like
Ooh,
I know I acted out in
yes.
so many different ways because I didn't know how to treat myself. I said a lot of mean things. I said a lot of mean things to myself. That was my normal. Anger was my
Mhm.
normal.
Mhm.
Sadness was my
Mhm.
normal. So it's given me a lot of patience to think through and um, intellectualize why people move the way they move.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. There's just not much distance between me and other people in my mind. Like I think about people who have the world, and I think like, wow, greed comes from a place of suffering. Feeling like you need a bunch of materialistic things comes from a place of suffering.
Yeah. That
Jealousy comes from
emptiness.
a place of suffering, like
Mhm.
I don't care if you're on the top of the world or you're homeless, I feel like we're 2 steps away from each other, like, in so many different ways. So I just can't set myself so far apart from, like, I'm innocent
Yeah.
or I'm I'm healed to the point where I can't understand. Like, no. Like, not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. I'm a few bad decisions, a few, like, me not thinking about the consequences of my actions and all those other things from being where other people are. So I think I just have a lot of
Hmm.
humility and grace.
Oh, yeah. And we should carry that. We should always carry humility and grace because, like you said, we are not so far away. We are all connected in this world. And the smallest things, like COVID was a really big highlighter that we are all connected and we're also close together because
Mhm.
it didn't care who you were. It doesn't
Right.
care who you are. I know a lot of people talk about sickness or like natural disasters is where like the world really comes together, and we hope that the world will come together as we see the war that's going on, and we have seen it
Mhm.
because boycotts are working. Things like
Right.
that. People are coming together all over the world, but it just speaks to the fact that we are all so close and we have to go in love and light and spread grace and be graceful
Mhm.
to all the people who are carrying those heavy feelings because, like you said, as someone who's been so sad and so angry, like we realize that is in everybody in some way.
Mhm.
We, you, it sounds, have just chosen to live not in agreement with that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. I love this. I love you so much. I'm so
It's like I
grateful.
want to ask
I'm
I
so
want to ask you the same question though. Like what have you taken, like
um
what are you walking in, cuz I feel like you say it wasn't that long ago, but you've grown so much. Like you inspire me so, so much to have just been going through that.
it was like I said, I've had like little moments that heat up, right? That have come back. And
Mhm.
I realized that it was because of my relationship with anger. I used to get so angry. It was like, this ball of anger shouldn't be here. So neither should I. I used to, when I was a kid, everyone would be like, Leah's so brilliant. Leah's so brilliant, but she's just so angry. Like she needed to do something. Like we got to get her help with her anger. So they made me write poetry and speeches and things like that. So like you, I was also a really deep, deep kid. But in seeing that, and here I am, and seeing that so many people were so uncomfortable by my anger, it was
Mhm.
really hard for me to love that part of myself, really hard for me to accept that anger was a part of me, but it's a part of everybody. I thought that it just made me so
Yeah.
ugly, because that's what I was told for for forever, that my anger was ugly. And instead of teaching me, okay, you may be angry, you need to embrace that emotion and then release it. Like that's something,
Right.
like I said earlier, we have to learn to love and release. I had to learn to love and release my anger because my anger told me that something wasn't right and
Right.
that there was something that was hurting me. But instead of dealing with whatever other emotion it was, it upset me
Mhm.
to the point where I didn't have control. And when I accepted God into my life, I learned my control. I learned that peace and that patience and that quiet understanding of what that anger was. It was distracting me from everything else. And it feels so much like a lifetime ago now. Like it feels so far away because I don't sit in my anger. I can't let my anger get that big anymore. And that's what I've learned.
Mhm.
That's what I've learned. I've learned to not allow anger to control me to the point
Mhm.
where I don't value my life. When I was sad, yes, sadness was a part of it, but I was so angry with the fact that life just was hard. I was
Yeah.
so angry with the fact that I felt so misunderstood. It was sadness to the point of anger. And that was what it was. Like, that's just what it was for me. Like,
Yeah.
the first time I ever thought about not living was after my uncle was murdered. I was so mad. I was
Mhm.
like, how do you go into a grocery store? This man just got out of prison. He's trying to change his life, and he was trying to stop a robbery, ironically enough, and he dies. He gets killed.
Yeah.
That 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 pissed me off. I don't even be cursing anymore, but that pissed me off. And I was like, I don't know how to let this anger go. And for so long,
Mhm.
that's just what it's been. Me not learning how to let the anger go. So I tried to mask my anger in so many ways, but I wasn't able to. But now I don't need to mask my anger because I've found peace. I've learned to find
Yeah.
peace. Yeah,
It's
that's what I've
beautiful.
learned.
Yeah. And like it's beautiful when you learn that like emotions are just a symptom, not the disease, not the wound.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
like your pain is not the injury. So I think a lot of people do get caught up with like analyzing their pain without getting to the root of it, without analyzing the
Right.
wound. And
Right.
we get so frustrated. Like I used to get so frustrated with my sadness. Like, why are you so like that? Like, get together. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm mad at the pain. Like, it's never gonna fix anything. And it's
Yeah.
so easy for me to identify people's pain, right? Like
Mhm.
that's just pain. Like they have something deep in them that they need to work on. They can't even see it yet. And I
Yes.
just pray for them to see it. Because I can't diagnose the issue for you. God can. Like you sitting
Yeah.
with yourself can. And when
And a
I
mental health professional can.
period diagnose that real quick. Um if you're honest, go to therapy and be honest. I would throw that out there. But
And be
no,
honest.
and be honest with yourself. And I think like the love in our soul, like you said, God is love. Like I know and I trust that my love and my peace can bandage any wound that I ever is ever inflicted upon me or I inflict upon myself because I do inflict a lot of wounds on myself. I do. Um and I have to take I have to take ownership for that. But yeah, it's like when you can stop being so like objective with yourself to say that like I'm an angry person. This is just who I am. It's like no, that's an experience. All of these different moments are just experiences. Like
Yes.
my all the things that I think of myself almost are just experiences. Like I experience this world as a black person. I experience this world as a woman. I experience, you know, all these life events that I just talked about.
Mhm. Mhm.
But your misalignment, like we talked about earlier, like that misalignment, the emotions are trying to tell you something. So I
Yep.
just be here to listen. Just
Yep.
listen to my anger, listen to my loneliness. I listen to my loneliness a lot. I think people
Yeah.
try to run from their feelings. But just listen to them. Sit with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Like,
Mhm.
or you're just gonna distract yourself into experiencing the same things over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again. And I love that. Sitting with your emotions. That is the only way you can really heal, if you sit with it. I like to I love imagery when describing things, but I look
Mm-hmm.
at like emotions, especially when I'm sad or when I'm lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Um I look at it as, okay, these are broken pieces, or these are just pieces. Maybe it's a puzzle, maybe it's broken, whatever, but can we put this back together? And if we can't, okay, that's okay. What can we do with them? How can we make them
Right.
useful? How can um how can we store them, or do we need to release them? Like, it's so important to analyze our emotions, because if not, they'll just be there. If you don't sweep your floor, the dirt will stay. That's it. You
Right.
can put on socks all day long and try to cover it up, but babes, you gotta sweep the floor. You gotta deal with the mess. You gotta deal with the
Mhm.
mess. And even my happiness, I like to analyze my happiness. Sometimes we don't think about that or give happiness and joy the credit that it deserves, but it deserves to be sat
Mhm.
in as well. Because,
Mhm.
babes, for somebody who's been sad for a very long time in their life, I need to look at my happiness and say, dang, girl, what is this? Like, why are you here? How did you get here? And
Mhm.
it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. All the emotions are a beautiful experience, but looking at joy and happiness helps me to feel so grateful in my sadness, because I'm like, I can get back there.
Yeah. Does your happiness feel unfamiliar?
It used to, but
Yeah.
sometimes when it's like too much for me, that love overload, sometimes it's like, okay, maybe I don't really know what this is, but then I figured out, it's like, yeah, this is happiness. But because, and this is gonna sound so sappy, but because I've really just been in it and I've accepted it for
Mhm.
myself, like, I'm starting to know her. I'm really starting to
Yeah.
know her, and I'm really joyful, joyful to know her,
That's
like,
awesome.
joyful to really know happiness. But yeah, it does feel unfamiliar at times, because
Mhm.
sadness is way too familiar, but it's starting to flip a little bit,
That's good.
and it's real good. Yeah, and it's real good.
Reverse Uno.
Right. Ooh. Why are you in my head? Because I love a Uno reverse.
No, for real. I don't know. I'm trying to get more familiar with my happiness. And it is something that I've had to analyze a lot because I'm like, that's what I'm seeking. I have to understand it just as much as I understand my anger and my sadness. Like
Hmm.
I have to understand the things that actually authentically make me happy, not the things that I think are gonna make me happy or I think
Hmm.
should make me happy. I thought, I'm
I'm
like,
trying
I'm
to
young. I should
force.
want to go out to yeah, like trying to force happiness where happiness don't belong. Like there's just not it's not there. Like I thought, we're young, like I'm supposed to be like going to the club, I'm supposed to be living my life, I'm supposed to be dating, all these other things like don't make me happy. Like it doesn't have to make me happy. And so I would just to constantly try to you have to try new things, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I was just like really trying to stuff a smile down my throat with a lot of different things that I thought were normal. And
Yes.
yeah, but I'm becoming more familiar with the things that make me happy. I am way too familiar with my sadness. Like it is the easiest thing for me to feel. Um, but I'm starting to replace that with like those overwhelming feelings of like love and admiration
Hmm.
and inspiration
Hmm.
because I'm accepting that as my truth because that's just really who I am.
Yes, yes.
But yeah.
Ugh, such a light in all black. I love it. I love it. But really learning to not force happiness is how you
Mhm.
become truly happy, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like, I'm not, when we talked about this podcast, I asked you to just show up as your authentic self and it'll be great. And I feel like this conversation has been so authentic. It's made me so happy because we've been able to really be who we are. Like, anytime we're trying to force anytime you try to force
Yeah.
something, it's just like, it's a little discomfort there, and you might have a little laughs, or you
Mhm.
it might be pleasant for a while, but eventually it runs out. But that true
Yeah.
happiness, you can sit in that and really feel that
Mhm.
over and over again, over and over again. It's like
Yeah,
chocolate
just
for me.
walking your it's like chocolate.
I
Period.
can eat chocolate in any form and be completely
And just be
satisfied.
blissful.
Yes.
That is so funny. You gotta find your chocolate. Find your chocolate.
Right. Find your chocolate. Find it. I love that. Girl, we are cutting up. Um, do you have anything else
Mess.
for us today?
I think I will say be patient with yourself. Recognize your emotions as something that is not you, but something that you're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, give people grace as you
Mm-hmm.
deserve and want and aspire to have grace. Forgive people. Forgive yourself. Oh my goodness. Forgive yourself. Even if you identify things that you feel like, oh, I need to grow out of this. Like, love on it. Don't hate on it. You spend a lot of time sitting around mad that you wasted time with this person or that person or doing this and feeling this type of way. Just get out of it and just start loving on it. Love on
Yes.
yourself.
Love on
I
every
think
part
that's
of
all I have.
yourself. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Even the
that.
crappy parts.
Right. Because again, it's all a part of your purpose. It's all a part of your purpose. Reagan, thank you so much for your time and for all of your wisdom that you've shared with us today. Um, I wish you love and light as you go through life. And y'all tune into Tiny Awakenings for more of Reagan. Hopefully, she'll make it a visual pod, but maybe not.
And more of Leah, because we're going to be back on.
Yeah, definitely more of me.
But yeah, I don't. Everyone that needs to find this episode, I hope and pray that they will. And thank you so much for having me. Like, I've been so afraid to share my story, even on my own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to like really get down to nitty gritty about like why I am the way that I am. Because I don't think I've
Mm-hmm.
expressed that for people ever. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I am so glad that you chose life. And for anybody who is listening and maybe feeling the same things, share the feelings that me and Reagan just talked about. We pray that you will choose life as well because it's so worth living.